What is up, sports geeks? It's your host, Josh, here back with another episode, joined by Alec. As always, we're here with 6 players you need to be starting in fantasy football this week in week 6. Last week, week 5, we had 4 players. We had DeAndre Swift versus the Panthers, who had a great week. He had a very good week, but was Roschon Johnson kind of crushed him a little bit because Roschon Johnson had 2 one-yard touchdowns.
Yep.
One of them was after DeAndre Swift dominated the entire drive, and then they handed it off to Roschon Johnson. But Swift still had a great week. Worthy had a touchdown. Still had, an week, a decent week, I should say, but did have a touchdown. Jordan Mason had the late fumble, which kind of hurt him. Deontay Johnson was just rough. The Andy Dalton-Deontay Johnson connection was no longer there. But we have 6 new guys this week. And I think of our 6 guys, I don't know if any of these guys have been, other than one, have been said in all of the first 5 weeks combined. So I'm excited for this one. Let's see who you have here with your first.
Yeah, so we're going back to the well here. I think we've used him, 4 times now? 3, 4? So Rashid Shaheed. Now this is obviously I chose him before the Derek Carr news.
Mm-hmm.
But even with the Derek Carr news, it's looking like Spencer Rattler's going to start. But even if Jake Hayner starts, they're going to be down like game script wise. So I could see Shaheed getting his. I mean, he's been getting 8, 9 targets a game.
Yeah.
I could still see him getting those targets. Maybe they're not as quality. But the Bucs secondary, as we saw last week, got shredded for 500 passing yards. So I love Shaheed in this matchup, even if Derek Carr is not playing.
Yeah, no, I'm completely with you. We've gone back to the well time and time again, and he burned us once, but he's also had some absolute. He's crushed it several times too. So I love going back to Shaheed here, and yeah, Kirko just threw for 500 against him.
And also, like, if Shaheed's your wide receiver 5 or 6, like, how are you really getting burned by him? Like, he's outperforming that anyway.
Yeah.
So, especially in like on a 2 flex team, this week's if you have Justin Jefferson this week who's on a bye, Shaheed can definitely be like a flex play for you.
Yes, no, I'm right there with you. My first play here is Terry McLaurin, the wide receiver 1, clear wide receiver 1 for maybe a rookie MVP candidate right here with Jayden Daniels. Jayden Daniels has been elite. We don't need to talk about that too much. He's been absolutely unreal. And his ability to throw a ball down the field while scrambling outside of the pocket is spectacular. Baltimore's secondary is giving up the most passing yards in the league this year, or the most receiving yards to receivers this year. I mean, Baltimore's secondary just got absolutely toasted by Jamar Chase, and I mean toasted. And Terry McLaurin is not Jamar Chase. That's not what I'm saying. But your secondary does have to defend for longer because Jayden Daniels extends plays more than Joe Burrow does. So, I think Terry McLaurin here is set up in a way that, last week he had 8 targets. He only had 4 catches, and Cleveland's secondary is actually pretty decent too. So I think he's locked in. I mean, they only threw the ball 25 times last week.
Yep.
That's not going to be every week typically. So, I think he's locked in for that 8 to 10 targets, and one of them is going to be a deep ball that he's probably going to connect on.
Yeah, I love Terry McLaurin this week. He's definitely a buy right now before he kind of does this every week, I think, because Jayden Daniels, I think, is pretty legit.
Yeah, no, I'm right there. Jayden Daniels is like everything we thought Caleb Williams would be. I think Jayden Daniels has been that and more.
Correct.
In what's here is so good with Jayden Daniels. He is on another level. I saw a thing too that said he's there at 4 a.m. every day, and that they're like strength and conditioning coaches are getting there at like 5 or 6, and they're like he's already done with his film session and his lift. So he's got an unreal work ethic too. So I mean, not fantasy related this part, but he will be winning an MVP within the next 5 years probably.
Yep, probably.
Yeah. All right, over to you for your second.
Yeah, so I have Chuba Hubbard as my second one. They're playing the Falcons this week. I just like playing a flex that's going to get 15 to 20 touches a game. Yeah. I think that's just pretty solid to bet on volume alone. That's why even like guys like Cam Akers, I'm trying to think of a couple other people in the last couple weeks that have been filling running backs like Kareem Hunt. Mm-hmm. If you're going to get 20 plus touches a game, you have to start them.
Yeah.
So I like
Zach Charbonnet when K9 was down.
Yeah, it's the same thing. It's like if you're going to get 80+% of the snaps, especially probably in a year where a majority of people went heavy wide receiver because that's what's been working. Chuba Hubbard's your wide receiver 2, or even a flex this week. I definitely like that. Just before Jonathan Brooks comes back.
Yeah, no, and I think that they're slow to rush him back because Hubbard's been great. I mean, out of the
Yep.
backfield. So, no, I love Hubbard. He tore up the Bears last week. And I'm actually going to go to somebody. The next 2 guys I have here. So I'm going to go ahead and pair these guys back to back, and then we'll get your third here. I'm going to stay in that Panthers game. I'm going to go with the running back for Atlanta, but it's not going to be Bijan. That's a must start, obviously. I'm going to go with Tyler Allgeier. And Carolina's rushing defense is atrocious. And we see that week in, week out. DeAndre Swift, who had not been good pretty much all year, right? I mean, we talked about that in one of our episodes previously where DeAndre Swift was averaging like hardly any yards per carry before the last 2 weeks, shredded the Panthers defense this past week. Bijan is going to do that. I have no doubt. I also think Allgeier is going to do that. And I also think that this might be a game in which both of these guys get between 10 and 15 carries. And if you're up by 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter, I wouldn't be surprised if Allgeier gets more touches just to keep Bijan healthy. So I really like Allgeier here. I could comfortably see him running the ball between 10 and 15 times and putting up 100-plus yards here against the Panthers, in which then you're looking for a couple receptions or a touchdown to have a really boom week.
Yeah, and I think if Allgeier has 15 carries, he probably gets a touchdown.
Yes,
I
would agree. I think against Carolina's defense, if you're going to give him 15 carries, he's going to get 1 in.
Yeah, and again, like if you're starting Allgeier in your second running back spot or, in a flex, if you get 12, 13 points, like you are, like you win.
Yes. Yeah, especially as bye weeks are kicking in here, right? As maybe a few more injuries. I know there's people coming back, like A.J. Brown's back this week, but like as maybe you have a couple more injuries. You had Nico Collins, if you had Devon Achane, I think he's on a bye with this week anyways. But like, you can have different things in which I think this could be really beneficial to play him. And the last guy here too is also kind of like maybe a deeper league last guy for me here. Also kind of maybe a deeper league, not necessarily somebody I'm like you drafted at all to be a starter, but it's Tank Bigsby. And I think that there's some real upside this week. We saw him absolutely explode last week with just maybe a little bit more like passion the way that he ran the ball and like anger out of the backfield than what ETN typically offers. And ETN also is fighting this shoulder injury. And this shoulder injury has been continuously nagging him. And with a shoulder injury, you are any legal tackle away from being out for the game. I mean, that's like, it doesn't have to be, it could be like you're lunging for a reception, you get tackled on it, you dive for a ball and you land on it, you pick up a blitz. Like, you could re-injure this so easily. I wouldn't be surprised at all that even if he doesn't re-injure it, his snap count's going to be less, in which Tank Bigsby, the matchup against the Bears, this Bears defense, we just watched your guy Chuba Hubbard run all over them last week. And if this game was closer, I mean, Chuba Hubbard would have ran for 150, 200 plus, I almost think, because, I mean, he could have. So I am all over Tank Bigsby this week.
Yeah, I like Tank Bigsby this week. In one of my main dynasty leagues, I am an ETN owner. I want ETN to, kind of get back to where he was selfishly. But yeah, that shoulder injury is really nagging him. Last week, ETN was kind of like that receiving back. He had like six catches for 40-something yards. Tank Bigsby, I didn't think he had like breakaway speed. If somebody gets like a 60-yard touchdown one time, it's kind of a fluke. If it happens 2 or 3 times in like a 4-week span, like that's not just a coincidence.
No.
He has home run ability. It's kind of like the Shaheed thing where it's like all you need is them to make one play and it's a 10-point fantasy play.
Yep.
So
you need a singular play, and you're playing against a team that allowed Chuba Hubbard to do that. He had a 40-yard rushing touchdown this past week, right? And several other runs of 10-plus yards. I mean, if you're going to say that the Jags are going to have 6 rushes of 10 yards or more, Tank Bigsby will have at least 2, and I would expect 3 or 4 of those just because of the volume he's going to get. I wouldn't be surprised if he out-touches ETN this week. So, no, I'm all over him. But I know we're rapid-firing through this, which I love this format, though. We'll see your third player here in the 6th and final of the show today.
Yeah, so last player we got Rico Dowdle. He's playing the Lions this week. I really like the way they're utilizing him in the receiving game. They have nobody else. Zeke is washed. They just they don't have anybody. So he's gonna have around 17 to 21, 22 touches. It's just the way it's gonna be until the wheels fall off for him. His body has not given out on him yet. He's not very big.
No.
So I don't know if he's gonna be able to keep this up for 17 games, but this week I love him against the Lions because in a trailing game script, he's just going to get catches out of the backfield. Especially, I mean, this is like the perfect culmination for him if you have him in a full point PPR because Brandon Cooks is out, Jalen Tolbert hasn't made the step, and all they have is CeeDee Lamb. So like he's basically their second best offensive player.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, Ferguson's not bad either, but
yeah.
But also, Lions run an absolute ton of man coverage, and Dowdle is really difficult to defend out of the backfield. So no, I don't like that. I mean, I don't mind that at all. I think Dowdle is set up for a great week. I actually think Tolbert's going to have a good week too. Lions DBs continuously get burnt. CeeDee Lamb's going to go for 100 plus. I would.
Yeah, CeeDee Lamb prop bet this week. If you can get plus odds at like 90 plus receiving yards, it might be worth it.
Yes. No. Yeah. Like this is not a gambling show, but like.
No, I'm just no, it's not. No, I'm just saying like yeah.
Yeah, but I'm with you. Like this, as a Lions fan, it is hard for me to watch this game and not expect CeeDee Lamb to burn us for 30 yards at least twice. Yeah. So no.
The Cowboys torch man coverage. It might be empty. It might be empty yards at the end of the game, but they're going to get their yards regardless. They always do.
Oh yeah. No, I'm sure they will too. All right, but those are our 6 guys here. So we have Terry McLaurin versus the Ravens, Allgeier versus the Panthers, Tank Bigsby versus the Bears, and then we have Rashid Shaheed against the Bucks. We have Chuba Hubbard versus the Falcons, and we have Rico Dowdle against the Lions. 6 guys this week. We still have not had a perfect week yet. Last week was a little bit of a down week, but 2 weeks ago we went 4 for 5.
Yep.
I feel good about this one. I mean, we feel good about every week, but this one I think I can smell it in the air. We're going 6 for 6 this week. But those are our 6 players that you need to be starting this week in week 6 as well. But other than that, this has been the Sports Geeks podcast. They play, we talk. Thanks for watching, guys. Peace.